want to go. Welcome back to Networking with Nathaniel. I have the pleasure of being here with a new friend of mine who I just met. Oh, I'm not sure when this is going to air. So I met in Vegas at a mastermind Unleash and Invest that we both attended. Richard, he's a captain in the Army. He's married. So ladies out there, sorry, he's already taken this good looking fella. And he's got his firstborn son, I believe you mentioned, is coming later in October. I'm curious actually when the due date is because we have our third coming in October. This is
What's
something
that?
that we didn't Rich and I didn't get a whole lot of chance to talk actually in Vegas. There was a lot going on and we were networking with a lot of different people, but we connected right here at the end. And I was like, this guy I got to have on my podcast. I want to learn more. We have the military connection, and he's doing a lot of things in the real estate space already while he's still in, and just how he's managing that and how he's being a captain in the army is no joke. And he's a communications officer. And I look forward to kind of learning from him. But before we get to that, I appreciate you being here, taking time out of your day, Rich. How you doing, brother?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. So like I kind of mentioned, you're already starting investing in real estate. Kind of where are you at in your journey? What are you kind of working on a day-to-day basis while you're not leading men?
Yeah, no, man, you embellish. You make it sound so much cooler than I think it is, man. Um, yeah, where I'm at right now is I'm kind of in the build phase, man. So completely rearranging where I want to be in the next, 1 to 3 years, really. I'm at the focal point to where I have the opportunity where I'm made the decision where I'm going to be transitioning out next year,
Okay.
but currently in the build phase, right? So completely realigning my mindset, realigning my goals to accomplish the things that I want to do, right? So historically, started wholesaling since 2020. And that's a whole nother story. Let me know if you want to go into how actually got into real estate. Then we can get into that. But yeah, started wholesaling in 2020. I was doing my own thing for about a year and a half. Went to West Point. So as soon as I graduated West Point, like 2 months after I graduated, I did my first wholesale deal. And was crazy, right? because you go from being essentially a cadet, a student in college, right? And you're not making much, and then you get a check for, $10,000, $10,500, I believe that it was. And you're like, oh man, this is a game changer, right?
Yeah.
And started doing that by myself. Went over to Fort Riley, Kansas, and then I deployed to Poland. And while I was in Poland, it's about a 7 hour time difference from the East Coast. So was still in grind phase, right? I literally would go through the job, my job out there in Poland, and then right around 6 p.m., no later than 6 p.m., 7 p.m., I go to bed, and then I'd wake up right around 12 a.m. Polish time so I can make my phone calls, do all the deals back in the East Coast, and then I would stay up literally the next from day to day to day, and I did that for about 6 months straight. And I'm like, all right, I'm pretty tired all the time. There's no nap that you can take that's gonna recoup that sleep. And then I had a friend of mine introduce me to a couple of my classmates who were investing, doing flips and things of that nature down in Alabama. We connected. I was really good at acquisitions. They were solid acquisitions, but we're looking to somebody to bring it on and kind of just take that over. So we took it over. We started flipping houses. We got a couple of Airbnbs, and now we're kind of just focused on growing and expanding and just doing as much as we can here as soon as possible, right?
Yeah. I, I'm a little confused.
Mhm.
If Poland is 6 hours ahead,
Yeah.
why didn't you just call when you got off work? Like it'd be noon here.
Yes, because a lot of the people I was talking to, I try to text them, try to call them. They were at work themselves. A lot of the times, right? You have your onesies and the twosies that I would talk to,
Yeah.
but majority of the time when I got off of work, there was really no quiet space or places because while I was there, I had about three roommates that
Okay.
were in the room with me. So when I was done, everybody was kind of doing their own thing. So
Yeah.
I'd go get my dinner, go to bed, and then I'd get up. And where we were at, like there was like the offices, but in the bedroom, and then people also mixed their offices in their bedroom. So I'd leave my room and then don't tell people that, but I would go to whoever the battalion commander was, his office, because he had the little waiting area, and then they had their own little office, and I
Yeah.
would go shop in there, and make my calls, shut the door where it was quiet. Yeah.
This is incredible. So you're a testament to figuring out what is needed and going and doing it. So it sounds like you realize that calling at 6 p.m. the local time where you're at was going to be kind of lunchtime. People aren't interested in taking calls. People are at work here in the States. And so you had to adjust what you needed to do in order to accomplish the goal you were trying to accomplish, which is what calling from like 6 to 8 at night, wherever you're trying to call,
Yeah.
where people are
Yes, sir.
picking
Yeah,
up the
that's
phone.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that, like, this is not taking no for an answer, right? Not like just rolling over and going, well, nobody wants to answer the phone. I guess I can't do this. No, this is what needs to be done. I got to figure out what to do. So at this time, you're not married yet while you're in Poland, or yes?
Yeah, so yes, my
Okay.
wife and I, we actually met in college.
Okay.
We met our freshman year, dated all 4 years, got married the day after we graduated.
Oh, wow.
She's also, well, was in the military. She recently got out. She got med boarded back in November, so she's officially out. But during while I was in, we were in Poland together. We were in what's called the MACP, so the Married Army Couples Program. So basically, you
Okay.
guys are married. They send you guys to the same location so you guys can have a family. So
Nice.
we were in Poland together, but we were in different locations. So I only could see her anytime that we had off time, like on
Yeah.
weekends or like holidays and stuff like that.
Okay. I didn't know that that was a thing. I was
But
I
yeah,
was a single dumb kid in the Marine
no,
Corps. Yeah. Oh, so yeah, take me back, I guess, to how did you get started wholesaling? It seems like being a cadet at West Point is a pretty full-time gig.
yeah, no, it's pretty it's a lot. I'm not gonna even lie. And it's very funny. I'm actually up at West Point now. I currently work in the admissions department. So
Okay.
I see all the cadets are going through all the sucky stuff that I did, and I kind of like point my finger at them like, I remember those days.
Yeah.
Or I'll go like to some of the we had a class called Survival Swim. So some days I'll give tours of West Point. I'll go to make a point of it to go to the gym to show the people the pool, and we have Survival Swim where it's like regular swimming class, right? You would think. No, you're
No.
literally in full battle rattle. They put
Yeah.
all the military equipment on and they give you a dummy rifle and say go swim. And that was the bane of my existence when I was a
Ah,
cadet. So I always make a point to go back and like I had like laughing at them, seeing them going through the same things that I was
that's
kind of
funny.
going through.
Yeah.
But yeah, the way I got, I guess, scheduled as a cadet, you get up right around I'd say right around, depending on what you were doing. I was playing football first 2 years. So out of season, we'd get up right around 5:30 to go
Okay.
up to the stadium, do a lift. Then we have breakfast formation right around 6:50, 7 o'clock. You go to breakfast and then you're in class right around, I want to say right around 7:30 to 11:55. And then you have lunch. And then after that, you have your afternoon classes. And then right around 4 p.m. Is when people would go up to the football stadium, or everybody at West Point had to participate in some type of sport. So you'd either go
Hmm.
if you're a collegiate level athlete, you go to the your prospective sport, and if you weren't, you do intramural sports. So I only played football for 2 years, so I kind of got to live both lives. But yeah, the way I jumped into real estate, man, I remember it was right around my junior year. I had met there was a major that was working here that was my finance teacher, and he was talking about he was my finance teacher was talking about finances and he talking about real estate. So it kind of piqued my interest because he said he had like 4 properties.
Mm.
And I was like, you own 4 houses? He was like, yeah. And I rent them out and I make this. And I'm like, man. So I went to go see him after class one day, and he started just teaching me about a little bit about it. I ran into another major, who was doing a lot of different things, who was diving into wholesaling, who started talking to me about it. And that stuff was interesting to me. But really, the point that made me want to kind of dive into it was right before my senior year. I had the opportunity to go out to Fort Sill, which is out in Oklahoma. My
Okay.
grandparents also live in Lawton. I get to shadow a lieutenant to actually see what their day to day is like. But while I was out there, I got to see my grandparents. And at the time, my grandfather he had cancer. He was very sick. And I remember I was telling him some of the things that I was wanting to do, and he handed me a copy of Rich Dad Poor Dad, which I think everybody has read, right? But it was special to me, one, because I've never heard of it. But then two, my grandparents, they were both preachers. Just
Mm.
being very blunt, honest, they didn't have a lot, a lot of money, and things like that. So he gave me that book and he handed it to me, and he wrote all these notes in it, right on the cover, right on the inside cover, and told me like, here's all the things that I wish I would have done. If you take these things seriously in this, you can completely change your life.
Mm.
And having somebody that you look up to give you something like that is not something that you take very lightly.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, I got to take this serious. I got the chills. I felt like God was speaking to me like, all right, this is kind of like my
Wow.
call almost. So I dived into it, took the whole senior year to just study. So I was on bigger pockets, learning from everybody, just trying to learn, definitely more so in like analysis paralysis. I remember literally being in Man, I remember being like in class, right? And you're supposed to be on your laptop, like taking a quiz or like doing whatever. And I was on Zillow just practicing running numbers and stuff like that,
Nice.
right? Um, but yeah, and then yeah, had the opportunity to jump in the whole, got my first deal. I'll never forget it. 609 South Sycamore Street in Petersburg, Virginia, back
Wow.
home, minutes away from my house. I found it on Craigslist. The guy, and this is how I told you, is this guy talking. The first deal, found on Craigslist, the guy was trying to sell it for like 60K, or we negotiated down to 60K. He was a preacher. And I was like, man, this is crazy.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, ended up assigning it for like 10 something, 10.5, I believe. And then I was like, man, this is it. Let me start doing this.
Yeah.
Hope that answers the question a little bit.
Oh yeah, definitely. That gives some cool backstory. I like the piece about your grandfather is awesome. Um, there's little like aha moments kind of in all of our lives where if you know maybe the clouds feel like you're parting or whatever, and you're like you mentioned, you're getting kind of a message from God or whatever higher being that higher power that you do or don't believe in.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool. And we are going to plug some books here at the end, maybe. So you
Yeah.
just threw a very popular one in. Myself, I love Rich Dad Poor Dad. I think starting, I don't know if you've ever read The Richest Man in Babylon. I think it's a very yeah. Dang it. This is
Right
one of the
there.
ones he
I
said.
know it's right
Yeah,
there, bro. It's a great book.
yeah. It is a good one. Okay, let's not talk about that one right now, then. We
No,
can
it's
talk
okay.
about it. Yeah. So how many wholesale deals have you done to this point that where you're, oh, is it too many to even remember? Um,
No,
where-
no,
okay.
I wouldn't say it's anything crazy, man. I say it's definitely over 10.
Yeah.
But I really, and it's probably not great, or maybe speak to a little bit of my personality or some of the weaknesses I have. I just stopped counting it, man. To be honest, just because I just wanted to just help the people. And that's the kind of the issue that I have is I care a lot about people. And I love people. That's a big reason why I joined the army. But yeah, I started caring more about solving the sellers, whatever issue that they had, more so than the payout, right? So I definitely took some pay cuts to make sure that more people were squared away, in the sense that they were walking away with more money than myself. But yeah, over 10. And you mean you make good money on them. I think the lowest amount that I ever made was 75. The highest amount was like 23 or 24K.
Wow.
So nothing, I don't think nothing, I mean, it's good money, but there's people out there you see are ripping like 40, 50 K assignment fees.
Yeah.
But I was happy with that.
What, yeah, that it sounds like you're fulfilling two kind of needs there. You're gaining the monetary thing, but you're also fulfilling the I want to help people thing. And a lot of people take that for granted in the sales industry as like, what is
Yeah.
this person trying to solve? You're just thinking about me and my paycheck and how I can make more money, but what's this person's need and how can I solve it? And that's how you make money is by providing
Yeah.
value to people. And so that's freaking amazing, man. So you've and a little bit sounds like, oh, I've only done this many deals, but man, doing what you're doing at this point, you're in the army, you've got that thing going on, you're married, you're trying to fill your free time with that. You're waking up at freaking midnight to make these calls. Like even just doing one deal is a big accomplishment, but you've done more than 10 and I love that you're like, I don't even count. It's not about that. It's not about the numbers. It's not about I mean, it's a little bit about getting paid, but it's about helping
Yeah.
people and seeing that, like being able to pick up the phone and talk to a seller and they're actually like, hey, that, rich guy actually helped me, he actually helped me out. So that's a big thing. I always like when I was talking to sellers, like the very last thing I'm gonna do after we've signed the paperwork and all that, I'm gonna ask you for a review. I want a
Yeah.
review from you. And that means that I gotta be freaking amazing the whole way through the process because I want a 5-star review.
Oh yeah.
And so like even though I'm helping, I'm still going to be a little selfish. But yeah.
Yeah.
So at what point here have you pivoted? I know it says buyer on
Mhm.
your name here, and that's why we connected in the first place is at this mastermind event where we're working on how we can buy and hold more deals. At what point does it go, I want to buy?
Yeah, 100%. I would say the big reason I got into real estate was to buy. And I want to say I got caught in the trap, but I
Mm,
was like, okay, buy and holding. I kind of had a limited mindset in the beginning, right? So like I was like, all right, in order to buy, I need money. Okay, I have money, but do I want to put all of my like life savings into one property? Or I see people wholesaling, they're ripping like 10, 20K deals. Why don't I just do that, build up some capital, right? Like everybody says, build up some capital and invest my own own money. So I just was doing that, right? And one of the things that I noticed, right, is I talk a lot about my dreams and goals and my values, and I'm one who tries to walk by that, right? And I realized I look back and if I prioritize, like my priorities are as follows, right? So it's God, family, impact, and then like a business, right? And if I am coming home, right? So say I work a 9 to 5, like when I was back in the States, I'm working a 9 to 5, and then I come home and I have a 5 to 9 with real estate wholesaling, then I'm kind of Xing out those two things because I should be spending time with my wife if I'm prioritizing that, or I should be spending time, helping people out or spending time with God like I'm supposed to be, right? So, I kind of reevaluated and was like, okay, I need to make a shift, right? Because my big goal is we want to be financially free by 30, 27 years old right now. And I'd say we're pretty well on the way to making that happen.
Yeah.
But true wealth, right? We want to be financially free. We need wealth to do that. True wealth comes from ownership. And what we learned is that we're making cash, right? And then if you're not wholesaling, like there's a lot of different tweaks that I could have made to my business. But you're putting a lot of that back into marketing, right? Because you're like, I want more leads. It's like I
Yeah.
want a lot of leads. It's like, all right, 10K. And they put about seven. I don't need all this money. We put seven into marketing, bring in more. So that 10K makes you like 30, 40 or whatever. And then you just kind of start repeating it, right? The point that we made a decision, I would say, was probably within the last 6 months. We
Uh,
said, all right, like I looked at my wife and, we sat down, we try to do weekly meetings, like weekly meetings with each other. And we sat down and I was like, baby, like I want us to, be free, right? We talked about this. I'm 27 years old. We're going to be having a baby boy on the way. October 28th is the due date.
okay. Yeah, I was gonna ask.
Um,
Yeah.
we're going to be having a baby boy.
Yeah.
Like we want to be free, right? Because our end goal is we want to start a nonprofit based around financial literacy in inner city communities. Just long story short, there I came from Prince George, Virginia, so right beside Fort Greg Adams, formerly known as Fort Lee, about 20, 30 minutes south of Richmond. I grew up in Prince George County, very nice area, but to our left and right, there's two inner cities, and I've just seen too many friends either go through different things, right? Whether it be their parents dying, murder, people getting killed, things like that, who are those inner cities. And I'm looking at myself and me like, man, it's not that they did anything to be in those situations. Life just happened,
Yeah.
and they just happened to be born into things that weren't the same as myself, right? So what can I do to go back home and make sure that everybody has the same opportunities, everybody is on the same level playing field, and everybody has the same knowledge that I'm learning, in a great public school. But if I drive 5 miles to the left and 5 miles to the right, they're not getting that same education, and that truly, truly matters. And that's very, very important to us. So we just want to impact and create as many people as we can. And at the point, long story short, we just had to, in order to do that, right? I can't be working a job, so I need to get financially free, so that way I can spend all of my time impacting people.
Yeah.
So I'd say within the last 6 months, we're like, all right, we're going to go all in on this thing. We learned, as this weekend, and then just being in a couple of masterminds together. You only need two things to buy real estate. You need money, and you need a deal.
Yep.
And I'm like, man, that makes way too much sense. And you don't even need your own money, right? So big focus is for the year is trying to buy right around 75 doors, utilizing private money, so money from other people who have money to invest. And we want to be making on average, just on average, right around $22,000 a month. Because with that, I mean, that's living a pretty, you don't need that much, but that'd be a nice number for us to shoot for.
Yeah, heck yeah. I There's a couple things to unpack here. I love your kind of bigger why, right? I want to be financially free. I want to create generational wealth for my family, but bigger than that now, you're already looking ahead as helping out these underserved, underprivileged communities that don't have the financial literacy. They've never heard of the richest man in Babylon.
Yeah.
They've never heard of oh dang it. What was the other one?
Was it Rich Dad Poor
Rich
Dad?
Dad Poor Dad, yeah.
Yeah.
I for some reason Think and Grow Rich popped in my head. Right, they've never heard of these opportunities to take themselves out of these situations. Like their role models, they don't have the Pace Morby, they don't have the Jesse Stantons. They have the drug dealer on the corner that they see is doing really well, and so that's the
Yeah.
lifestyle that they go into. And it's unfortunate, right? We're born in the most prosperous country in the world, and still there are people that are born in a really not the best situation. And that's the only situation that they know until they're shown something else. That's the path they're going to lead down. So I
Right.
love that. You mentioned 75 doors. Is that end of year goal or is that like
That is a year
June?
from now, man.
Okay,
Yeah.
so June
Wow.
2025. Yeah.
Yep.
I love that. And so this is leading you to being able to exit the army and, you know, not have the financial worry of where's that army paycheck coming from that,
Yeah.
aren't, I know captains in the army are just like buku bucks. Like I do wanted to mention, you mentioned the hierarchy, God, family, the army just disappeared from there.
Oh yeah, impact and
Yeah.
business. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, and then you make an impact. You make an impact.
Oh, in the
Definitely.
army. Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
fair enough. Yeah, yeah. So, um, in order to get to the 75 door goal and set yourself up for, oh no, before I get to that,
Okay.
you kind of you downplayed a little bit the 22,000. Like, I know I don't need that, but it's what you want and what you're willing to do to go get it. And so I think that that's, setting this number and this goal that you have in mind, like this number, this goal gets me to the place where I'm comfortable enough to be able to go make the impact outside of my immediate, family and friends, like your bigger why. So
Yeah.
I don't like I know it's tough. Like you're not talking to me like I want 50K a month. That's what our goal
Yeah.
is of
Yeah.
net cash flow. But it's tough sometimes when you're talking to people outside of our community and outside of the investing space because they see you wanting to go for 50K a month or 22,000. Like, man, well, you don't need that much. I don't need it,
Oh
but I
yeah.
want it. Like, right? I want to be able to do that. I work hard to hit these numbers. So,
Yeah.
don't downplay that. Dang, I lost what I was going to ask you. Oh yeah, in order to get to this 75 doors in a
Mhm.
year, what are you seeing? I know we said deals and money, but like what kind of obstacles, what hurdles are you needing to overcome? What
Mhm.
are you going to need to bring into your business in order to get to that 75 doors?
Yeah, so the number one thing we're going to need is an operations manager, right? So going through the process right now of looking at potential applicants for, running the operations, right? So for me, and me and my wife, right, we're only just two people, right? So, I can't look at deals all day, have a W-2, right? And that's just a big thing is focusing on who, not how, right? So looking at the things, taking a personality test, I think was very important,
Hmm,
lining, seeing where my strengths align, seeing where my wife's strengths align, and say, okay, what makes us the most money? What are the sole money making tasks that we both our skill sets align with? And then the things that don't align with that, right? Then you can hire that out, right?
yeah,
And that is kind of what we're focusing on. I guess the biggest obstacles I see is, I guess the money would be number one, right? So private money lenders and things like that. And I have my own capital that we could potentially put into deals and things like that, right? But focusing on just building a network of people who have money who want to get into real estate but don't know how, right?
yeah,
So just really getting yourself out there. And one things I guess I've struggled with, and I'm glad. One, just thank you so much for even having me that I can just kind of share willy nilly. Is just getting out of my shell more, man. Because I've always been a very very humble dude. I wouldn't say I'm quiet, not quiet. I'm definitely in your face, super excited. Army say super cool. So I'm like one of those dudes, right? But I usually don't talk a lot about the things that I have going on, right?
mhm,
And what it was, man, and just being completely honest, was like I had a fear of being judged. And like I feel like more recently, I got over that fear because at the end of the day, and I won't use profanity, but I really don't care what anybody has to say, man, because like you're put on earth. Every one of you guys, like anybody who's listening, you guys are put on earth for a reason. And it's on you to go make that happen, right? You got to burn the boats. Nobody's coming back to save you, man. So if you want to accomplish something, you got to go out there and you got to go out there and do it, right? So for me, it's been using my mouthpiece more because I have a lot of great things to say. I think I'm a pretty good person, right? And people like to hear the things that you have going on, man.
yeah,
Yeah, and you kind of, I guess one of the questions that I get a lot, like more recently, as I've been kind of sharing my story and telling people more about my journey, is, oh, why would you want to like? And I'm not even joking. You probably get it as well too. Is like, why do you want to? Oh, you want to retire about 30, or you want to retire, young? Like, oh man, I would never want to do that. I'm going to get bored. I'm not going to have time, right? And one of the things one of my mentors shared with me, right, is when you get responses like that, is like number one, you tell somebody this, but number one, that is such a selfish answer to say, right? Because think about all the time that you have, right? Not only can you do whatever you want, but think about all the people that you could potentially help, right? With the money
100%.
that you're bringing in,
Yeah.
all the people that you could help and build up, right? So, kind of answer that like is impact, man. Um, I don't know if that answered your question. I know I kind of went roundabout.
Oh no, dude, this is great.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is
Yeah.
perfect. Like just unpacking it all. And there's a couple things. Shout out to Amber. You kind of
Oh
quoted
yeah.
that there, nobody's here to save you. Like
Yeah.
she hit on that a couple times
Oh yeah.
during one of her presentations. Like if we're going to get to that 22K, if we're going to get to that 50K, if we're going to be able to impact the communities like you're looking to impact, it's up to you.
Yeah.
Not necessarily to do the work, all the work yourself, but to be the lighthouse that's going to bring in the right people and put the right people, the who's, not the hows, into place that are going to get you to those goals. And
Yeah.
like, our goals are so big. And I like to equate this to the Pace Morby, to the Jessies and the Chris Jameses and all the people that we met there. Like their goals are so big that
Oh
their
yeah.
umbrella was so big that we're able to fit our goals underneath theirs,
Yeah.
right? Like I don't have the Pace and Warby goals. Like I don't want to be traveling the world speaking and these all different these good for him. Like we need the Pace Morbies. We also need the Nathaniels and the Richards because there's operations managers and there's other people that their goals are going to fit under our umbrella. And so I love
Right.
that. And you mentioned the book Who Not How, like bringing in somebody and you're in the process of that. And we've brought in an amazing operations manager ourselves, which is
Hell yeah, you did.
yeah.
I've heard of it. Yeah, I remember you
Yeah.
telling me that.
And
Yeah.
so I love that. I love that you're bringing in somebody, and I know that you're the one other thing that I wanted to touch on there that you mentioned is like you're the promoter, right? That's
Mhm.
actually where we first talked as we did a little promoter thing on the side and we were having fun playing the little game that we went through, the little workshop that we went through. And especially when you're talking about your bigger goals, to a lot of people, like we already mentioned, it's tough. You feel the eyes looking on you kind of negatively, so it's difficult for us to go and talk about what we're doing. At the same time, in order for you to bring those people in that want to be a part of what you're doing, we got to talk about what we're doing. And so, for me, when I started posting, when I got started this journey, it's like, well, I'm not doing a whole lot of deals. Like, how am I supposed to post about this? And then you start doing deals, and you're like, well, how am I supposed to post about this? I don't want to just seem braggadocious. Like, people out there are going to look at me, and I think it was Jesse that mentioned it during our mastermind. Like, dude, the people that you went to high school with and they don't care. They're not
I
watching
really
you.
don't.
And if they do and they care, like they're not supposed to be in your community anyway, right? They're
Yeah.
not the people that we're reaching out to and they're not the people that we're trying to touch. So I love that. I would encourage you to do more of it, right? Because like you said, you are outgoing, you are a light, right? People are going to connect with what you're saying. You could say, "Hey, I want to do the things that you've said," and be not genuine, people are going to realize that you're a
Yeah.
genuine person, right? You can tell it. It comes through you, like it oozes out of you, the genuinity.
I like it. Hey, it makes
Is
sense
the
to
word.
me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it's. I did want to ask you. So you mentioned your wife a couple times. She exited the army. Is she? What's going to be her role, if any, in the business?
Yeah. Oh, 100%, man. So she is definitely more of a analyzer slash controller. So where she likes to build the systems or play with the numbers and things like that. Like I will quickly drive myself insane. Like yesterday, I looked at three houses in a row. I spent like an hour analyzing three homes, and I was like, man, this is
I need a nap.
insane, right? I
Yeah.
do not
Yeah.
like doing this, right? Because I'm
Yeah.
not talking to anybody. It's just me
Yeah.
behind a computer screen,
Yeah.
and that's not good for a long period of time. So her roles are more so because so right now, so she exited the army. Um, not she wouldn't care if I'll share, but basically her story is, and I'm just gonna be 100% honest. So she, when we're in Poland, contracted a very rare disease slash disorder called gastroparesis.
Oh my.
Essentially, what it does is no, like my wife is the epitome of a badass. She is a savage. She is the strongest one I've ever met in my life. And I'm about to tell you her story. You guys are gonna know why.
Mm.
Just starting off way in the beginning, like during basic training, she tore her ACL for the second time, right? And completed basic training with a torn ACL, which is
Wow.
insane. That's
Yeah.
just insane. Like the amount, like that. It's just she's a trooper, right?
Yeah.
But long story short, we got to Poland. She just one day she got really sick. Started losing weight, and she contracted a disorder slash disease called gastroparesis.
Mm.
And she had it pretty severe. And what that does is it means you cannot process foods. So she would eat food or try to drink something, and it would come back up within that hour, right? So food was not empty in her
Wow.
stomach. I don't know if you know too much about Poland, but some of the doctors out there aren't the best, right? So she was going through her own little struggles trying to find a correct doctor. Ended up getting redeployed back to the States early. Went to some of the top, hospitals in the country, which is a blessing. But ended up over the course of right around 8 months before we could actually find out what was going on. She lost right around 40, 50 pounds, and she's a fit woman, right?
Yeah.
So got really, really skinny. They had to install a feeding tube so that way she could eat. She was on 24-hour feeds, meaning she had the backpack she was carrying all and always constantly getting fed her nutrients.
Mm.
Um, yeah, and throughout that, none of the medicines were working and things like that. But what ended up happening is they actually this past year she got out of the army in November. We got her into Johns Hopkins, which is another different story. That was a testimony of our faith, and I just think just got a lot of good things to happen.
Mm.
Ended up getting a medicine that has been helping. Put on her weight back. She had two tubes. One of them got removed. We talked to the doctor about, she's in a good state now. Can we start, can we talk about children, right? Her, can't eat solid foods all the way at this time yet. But ended up being able to get to a good point. We ended up getting her the medicine to get her to a good point. We asked about having a baby, ended up having, she's pregnant now, ended up getting to
Yeah.
that point, like, since the pregnancy, man, like, everything she still has a feeding tube, she's still on like limited feeds, but her appetite it's almost like the thing, it doesn't exist, right? And there's been we've read different things about people who had gastroparesis. They get pregnant and then sometimes it goes away completely or goes away for the pregnancy and comes back, or sometimes it just completely solves it, right?
Wow.
But our baby has, well, one, she's a soldier, a trooper for going through all of that, right? That is like not easy, not being able
Yeah.
to eat. And between that, she was an amazing wife, right? So still
Mm.
maintaining the house, still meal prepping for me, making sure that she's doing everything that she can to support me. And I'm like, baby, like I'm supposed to be supporting you. Like, sit down. But she
Yeah.
just can't. She's a trooper. But long story short, she got out of the army. She's in a lot better of a spot now. And yeah, so she runs HR for a government contracting company.
Okay.
She knows all the systems and all that kind of stuff. So that's kind of her role. I'm sorry, that was a roundabout, a
No,
long
no,
answer.
this is, dude,
Yeah,
you don't have to apologize
yeah,
for being thorough.
yeah.
Um, yeah, so she's still gonna do the HR thing and just
Oh yeah.
be a part of the business. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
awesome.
so more the analyzer role. So like
Yeah,
looking at stuff, analyzing things, looking at the numbers of a lot of different projects, making sure our systems are squared away, building different SOPs, all that different types of things.
yeah. So I mean, you met Brittany, right?
Yeah.
Maybe not a whole lot, but a little bit. And so that's, I mean, they sound very similarly aligned. Brittany didn't go
Oh
through that.
yeah. No, they would be good friends, man. Just like for the
Yeah.
limited time, say hi with your wife. I was like, yeah, they'd be
Yeah.
great.
I
Yeah.
mean, and you mentioned, getting into Johns Hopkins and like it sounds like God has a plan for you, right? And he needs to make sure that your better half is here to fulfill this plan that you guys have and to make sure that you're able to support these communities that need the support. And so it's a blessing that people like you are out there, right?
I
And
appreciate it,
yeah.
man. Yeah.
So, um, I'd like to kind of wrap us here a little
Yeah.
bit. I have a prepared question or two for you, if you would
Right.
go through it. I just having now talked to you for really one-on-one for the past 30 minutes or so, I got a couple ideas of the answers for these. But once your time has expired on this earth, you're no longer here, you've left behind kids or whatever, friends and family. What do you want to be remembered for?
Man, that's a solid question. And yeah, I think to answer that, man, 100%, like, and this is something I've been kind of told my whole life. Again, I come from a family of givers, right? So my grandparents on my dad's side were preachers. Grandparents on my uh, mother's side, my grandfather was in the army for like 20 something years.
Wow.
Grandma was a school teacher. So just family of givers. They always say, how many people are better off because you lived, right? So like my big vision for when I'm gone off the earth, like I want to pass, and I kind of got it all figured out. Like I've always said, I want to live to be like 101. I don't know why I say that, but I'm gonna be 101 years old, right? And I'm gonna be driving and everything, right? I'm gonna be super healthy and all that good stuff.
You'll be
But when I
flying
pass,
by then, yeah.
no, literally,
Yeah,
yeah, I'll be
yeah.
flying by
Yeah,
then, right? I'll
yeah,
figure it out.
yeah.
But like I want to look back, right? Like when I pass, like I want to look back hundreds of years down the line and see that my great grandkids are better off, right? Because of decisions that I decided to make, when I was in high school, decisions that I made while I was in college and while I'm in the army, and the decisions that continue to carry me, every day. Like I want to see communities completely impacted because of the things that I was able to help instill, right? And not, I didn't necessarily teach these people how to do these things. I just showed them what's available, right? And they took it and created so much more blessings, right? But I want that to be the foundation because I truly think, I truly, truly believe, and nobody convinced me, is that you can change the world if you can literally do. And I when I work in admissions, I do these trips where I go talk to all these different kids in underserved communities. I'm at their high schools about West Point, and I tell them, I'm like, you guys have no idea. You guys can do literally whatever you want with your life. You can do anything that you want to do. Like you want to be doctors, lawyers, attorneys. Some of you guys want to be generals. Some of you guys want to be entrepreneurs, right? And make millions and millions of dollars. You can 100% do whatever you want to do. But you have to be willing to put in the work to make it happen. But it
Yeah.
is so achievable.
Yeah. And like somebody's got to show you that it's achievable, which
Yep.
it's funny. Before we started this, we were talking about Jim Abbott, the one-armed pitcher or the,
Yeah.
yeah, one-handed pitcher, I guess. And
Yeah.
like who the heck would have
Bro,
thought that this kid would become a major league pitcher with one
bro.
hand? Like,
Imagine how many people told him no, he wouldn't do it
yeah,
too.
yeah, yeah. No, you can't do it. You only have one hand. Who's gonna
Yeah.
be able to do? Like, he shoved the glove. You'll have to watch it. Like,
I'm
look
going
up.
I'm going to YouTube
Yeah,
it as
Jim.
soon as
Yeah. Oh, I got another. Uh, I got another question. Yeah, let's do the.
okay.
What's the biggest life lesson you've learned so far, and how
Yeah.
did you learn it? Yeah.
I'd say the biggest life lesson I learned would be from my father. And it was that literally like with hard work, like with hard work and dedication, you can break down walls and do whatever you want. Not necessarily going out and, hitting a hammer, hit everything with a hammer, do everything you want, but the answers are out there so long as you're willing to do it, right? So I'm very big on getting up early. I did 75 hard for the first time a couple months ago.
Okay.
I still drink a gallon a day. I get
Yeah.
up and go to the gym at
Here's.
4:30 in the morning every day. There you go, brother. But it all starts back with my father, right? So my father dropped out of high school. I mean, dropped out of college down in Norfolk State, down in Hampton, or
Okay.
down in Norfolk, Virginia, and worked his way up. Right now, he runs security for multiple nuclear power plants up and down the East Coast.
Wow.
But I remember when I was right around 12, 13 years old, my dad used to make some money on the side. He would help my uncle out. My uncle was a milkman for pet, and he used to like shelf things at like local like Walmarts and stuff, food lines and stuff like that. So to help him out and make some extra money, my dad will go out on the weekends and shelve like milks and ice creams, dairy products, at
Interesting.
like 4:35 in the morning, right?
Yeah.
Um, and I remember, yeah, he was like, "Hey, I want you to start coming with me with this. Come with me on this." And I'm like, "I don't want to do that. I'm 12 years old. I just stay, I'm 13, right? So I'm staying up till 3 in the morning, right? And then get up an
Yeah.
hour later. Like, that doesn't make sense." But he would wake me up and I would hate it the first couple of times, but then I was like, man, like my dad is out here grinding. And I
Mhm.
started to like it, right? Because we started to spend so much time together. I mean, like some of my fondest memories, like, are me getting up at 4 in the morning with my dad, right? Going out there, putting in some work, and then going to breakfast, right? Spending time just talking, him investing into me, teaching me how to be actually like a good man, and not only a good man, but a good husband and a good man of God, right? And then going back home, and it's only like 7:30, 8 o'clock, and I have the rest of my day to myself. And that's
Yeah.
when it clicked. Like, it's like if I get up early to do the things that I want to do, right? You have so much time. You have so much time. And 24 hours is a long time when you break
Yeah.
it down, right?
Yeah.
If you manage your time correctly. But I would say that would be that would be that.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah.
And that this is a disclaimer. You don't have to get up early to be successful,
You don't, no.
right? But if you're gonna do your work late, you got to do your work late, right?
Yeah.
So, I love this, Rich. I appreciate that. The last question I have, which actually we've touched on a couple
Yeah.
times here now, are any books? You mentioned Rich Dad Poor Dad. We talked about Richest Man in Babylon. You mentioned Who Not How at this point.
Yeah.
Are there any other ones that you'd like to
Man.
plug here?
So I'm sure it's
Yeah.
a popular one that we're kind of reading the cohort right now. Where did I put that book? Oh yeah, The One Thing.
One thing, yeah.
That's a book that I'm reading that I'm really, really liking because being a promoter, obviously my mind is everywhere a lot of different times. And I want to do a whole bunch of busy work, but just choosing one thing, right? Coming up with your why, what is your goal? And what is the one thing, kind of backwards planning, like what is the one thing that I need to do to get to this? Okay,
Yeah.
what is the one thing that I need to do to get to this? And backwards planning has been game changing, and I would say life changing. But I'd say my number one book of all time that I still read maybe like twice a year to this day is The Go-Giver by Bob, I believe it's Bob Berg.
Yeah.
But yeah, probably the best book that I've ever read in my life because he just talks about going out there and providing value to people, and blessings will flow in your life, right? And
Yeah.
as somebody who just loves to help people and loves to do certain things for people, I never knew that there was a side to that, to where the more people you help, right, the more value you add to people, like honestly, the better or the more successful you come, right? So long as you're genuine with it, right? Not just saying go out there and just help somebody and be like, all right, now what can I get from it, right?
Yeah, what do I get?
There and helping people with like no intent of receiving anything from that is it's such a mind shifting I guess just thing. But yeah, my favorite book of all time is the Go Giver. I
I
read
love
it
it.
at least twice a year.
Yeah.
Um,
I need
yeah,
to re-listen to that now that
yeah,
you brought that up. Because we that was like 3 months ago. I think we listened to it. And it's
oh yeah.
if you're listening to it twice a year, I should listen to it again. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you, brother. It's been a pleasure. Yeah.
No, no, I appreciate you, man. It's my first podcast. I love this. Yeah,
Yeah.
I love this, man. So no, thank you for the opportunity. This has been truly a blessing, and I really do hope this helps somebody. And I'm not just you, man. Nate, meeting you, bro, it's been amazing, man. I think you're a solid dude. You're
I
cool.
appreciate that.
I assume just by meeting you, you got to be a great father, right?
Mm,
Yeah, man. And the world needs more people like you, bro. Continue to share your story. You're going to be doing great things. And yeah, and we're gonna do some great things together, bro. So I'm very excited to see,
yeah.
where life takes you as you guys are crushing your goals.
I appreciate that. I'm not one to tear up, so you don't
Yeah.
I do feel it though. You what you say about me
Yeah.
because I
Hey, bro. Yeah,
appreciate
we gotta
that.
get some onions out, man. We gotta bring some
Yeah.
tears.
Yeah,
See what
yeah.
was it SpongeBob says the world's smallest violin? Yeah, we need
Yeah,
we
this
need
is yeah. Well, I appreciate you, brother. I'll let you get back to whatever an army captain is doing at 4 in the
yeah.
afternoon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Should be. Oh no, we're off today. Juneteenth, so we're off
Oh,
today. It should be at work,
nice.
but we're off today. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. I appreciate you, dude.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you.
Later.
You have a good one.
You too.